The machine that you have behind you, the MedBed, isn't it really, as an umbrella term for it? But what's the name of it?
So it's called the human regenerator, and yeah, some people do describe it as the med bed. We've had a few people asking if it is the med bed, but this is the human regenerator. And yeah, it just has a whole host of benefits, and essentially it empowers your body to be a better version of itself. So, if you're here at a level, it will take you to that next level. Just by empowering every element of you, because we are made up of cells, and that's the area that it works on.
So what do you mean by it helps you go from one level to the, what would you class as going from one level to the next level?
So essentially, our bodies, as I say, they're made up of cells, and over time, the natural process that we go through is aging, and in that sense, our cells kind of deplete in maybe their energy, they become less effective over time as a natural process, but then also because of our environment, maybe our diet, lifestyle, just the external environment like pollution, that can also kind of slow down how well your cells work. So what this essentially does is it charges up your cells like a battery, so they're stronger and more effective in, operating how they should and knowing what they need to do essentially. So it is just a way of boosting your cells' energy, vitality, so then naturally everything else kind of improves as a result. So your body is essentially just operating better, and you generally just become feeling better.
So does it detox the cells or is it just recharge them? Does it like promote detoxification from the, yeah,
Yeah,
detoxing?
it does in a way, because again, like our bodies know kind of, if there's something in the body, sorry, our cells know if there's something in the body that shouldn't be there, whether if it's toxins and things. And I suppose if your cells are depleted in their energy or not as effective, they're kind of confused as to where should they, use that energy. Should it be in just doing your day to day? Should it be healing from an injury? Should it be just reducing inflammation? So if your cells are working at their optimal, then as I say, your cells and your body will know when they need to detox if there's things in there that shouldn't be. Because your body's operating as it should, then it will promote that detoxification process. Yes.
That's fab. So many of the med beds that I've seen, actually, they're all totally encased, but yours doesn't have a case on it, does it? So how does it work, please?
So yeah, so this is it's literally just a bed that you lay on, and the technology that it uses is called cold atmospheric plasma. So plasma, some people think of it being like the plasma that you get in your blood. It's not that kind of plasma. This is actually the fourth state of matter. So you have solid, liquid, gas, and then you have plasma, which is an ionized gas. And you find that in like your lightning or your northern lights, but that's of course at a very much a very hot temperature that our bodies wouldn't be able to, operate with. So that's where the cold comes in, because there's atmospheric pressure that's applied to reduce the temperature of the plasma, and there's elements within that which are transmitted into your body and into your cells. And essentially, the machine uses the atmospheric air to create this plasma, extracts all the elements out of it, and transmits those into the body. And there's at two ends of the machine, there's bits of metal which create like a static energy field. So you don't actually see anything when you're having a session, but there's like a magnetic type field that's created, which you have all the electrons and negative ions and all the elements of the plasma that are transmitting to your body, because they're such soft particles.
Oh, wow. So can you feel it when you're lying on it? Can you feel it coming through you?
Yeah, so most people feel like a gentle tingling sensation. It does really depend on each person and how sensitive, I suppose, they are, and what they feel. So a lot of people will describe they feel like tingling throughout their body or certain areas of their body. Some people can twitch in certain areas. Some people feel like warm. So it does really vary from person to person. Some people don't feel anything at all. I mean, I use it as often as I can, like maybe once or twice a week. and there's a very rare amount of times I actually feel any sensations. I just find that it's very therapeutic, very relaxing, very calming. But yeah, you can feel a sensation when you're using the machine.
So, sort of describe your personal journey from when you first started using the machine and how you feel now.
Yeah.
How long has it been? How did you feel back then and how do you feel now?
So, me personally, I think I've generally been, okay with my health. I haven't really been, had any illnesses or anything like that. I've been okay. But I'd say before, so maybe, I don't know, like three years or plus, I'd always feel quite tired, lethargic. If I've had a really busy day, I'd, just be really wiped out in the evenings. Also just, I'd say, maybe it might not come across that way, but I was quite like a stressed out type person. Things would worry me a lot. I wouldn't be the most calming in certain situations. But one of the main things is that I don't think my immunity has always been, the best. Like, especially when the weather changes, I'd always get a cold, have a flu, I'd be have a temperature and all sorts. And since moving up to Lincoln, I used to live in Coventry before, but since moving up to Lincoln for the last 6 years, I've just had developed hay fever because we're surrounded by a lot of farmland and things and greenery. So yeah, that's been something that I've developed. So for like the first, I'd say 2 years, 3 years of me being in Lincoln, I'd, have this hay fever. But since using the machine, I haven't, touch wood, I haven't been poorly basically. I haven't, developed a cold, and it would always be Christmas or New Year's. Like they were one of the like times when I would be bed bound just because I'd just fallen ill. So I'd say I feel like my immunity is really improved just as a result of using the machine. And yeah, my hay fever, so allergies and things like that, that aspect of things is not been so bad the last couple of years. And I feel like I can just get on with the day, even if I've had a lot going on. I'm not feeling so tired. And I think that's, yeah, just generally I just feel better in myself, as I say. So yeah, and more calm for sure. So much more calm. A lot of people will tell you that who know me.
I love that. It's just brought your anxiety levels all the way down then to like almost non-existent.
Yeah, I can. So I can definitely cope with a lot of things better. I'd say, and there is elements of the machine that help to calm down your nervous system, help to improve like people's anxiety and things. But I also kind of incorporate things like meditation and breath work and make sure I get outdoors to be out in the, out in the open and around nature and things like that. And all of those benefits that you get from the outdoors, you get from this machine as well. So it's again, I feel more balanced and much calmer for sure.
That's absolutely brilliant. So what other types of ailments can this machine help with?
Oh, there's a long list, but it's anyone who is suffering with like symptoms such as like aches and pains in their joints, in their body, anyone with like low energy levels, anyone struggling with their sleep, even women going through menopause, it can help there. Anyone who has had maybe an operation, like a hip replacement or an injury, just for speeding up their healing and recovery. There's a whole host of areas where it can help because I suppose again, just when your body's kind of not not balanced or not as it should be, it will do whatever it can to try and get back to that place. So our machine just helps to elevate, your cells and the process just to improve the healing, improve the energy, and improve the sleep because you're balancing your body out.
All right. I love that. That's amazing. So how did you get from um how did you get to purchasing a bed in the first place? How did this come about? How did you get your interest in this machine, in this bed. Um, yeah, tell me about that.
So it wasn't something that we like kind of anticipated. It was actually a personal journey of ours that we came across it. So in the summer of 2023, my mother-in-law, she was re-diagnosed with palliative cancer. So in the previous year, she'd undergone surgery and had chemo and radiotherapy, and was on her route to recovery. But she was, as I say, re-diagnosed, and when we found out about that, it was palliative in nature, and her energy levels were we were seeing her reduce energy. We were seeing her being less able to do things essentially. So, it'd be like 2 or 3 minutes of walking she'd be able to do, and then she'd feel tired, and she'd get more pain and things in where the cancer was, which was like around her neck and head. So she'd get a lot more pain, and we were just seeing her decline quite quickly from the moment we've sort of found out.
Mm.
And like conventionally, there wasn't a lot that we were able to find support with to help her just feel better. It was just, we were kind of told, sorry, there's not much else we can do. Just go home and enjoy the rest of your days is basically what we were told. And my husband's colleague actually said that there's this machine that's down in London. I've seen it at an event called the Health Optimization Summit. It could help with your mum's energy levels, like, give it a go. So my husband, he's actually a dentist, so he has like medical knowledge and got that kind of background. And we were skeptical when we found out about it. When we saw it, it looks very futuristic. So we're
Yeah.
not sure how it was going to help, but he looked into the science, spoke to the team down there, and it all made sense. And non-invasive, no known side effects, and we were pretty desperate to just help in any kind of way we could. So then we decided to take mom from Lincoln to London, which was over 3 hours in the car down to have a couple of sessions on the machine. So she had one session on a Thursday, and then she had a second one on the Friday. And after that second session, we asked her, Mum, how are you feeling? Are you okay? And there was like, her face kind of lit up. She looked brighter almost, and she was like, yeah, I feel okay. I feel quite good actually. And we were in central London, and that day we proceeded to do over 20,000 steps, from only doing 2 or 3 minutes of walking to doing 20,000 steps. So that was like a
Wow.
massive wow for us. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we're going up and down tube stations. We were out till probably 10:30 at night, and mum was just going for it, and she felt good. And each time, we saw this change in her, so we had no we were just like, we need to take her and keep taking her, just because it's helping her overall well-being. We knew it wasn't gonna kind of help in terms of getting rid of her cancer. It was more quality of life at this stage, which we were more concerned about. And yeah, as I say, each time mum used the machine, she was becoming much more independent. She was not having as much pain. She was able to go out with her friends and just have a bit more of a normal life, which was quite amazing to see, because, as I say, before that she was not in that kind of place. So we had a good 3 to 4 months of her being in a very good place where she was doing a lot more. But we did see a decline afterwards, because unfortunately the cancer kind of got the better of her, and she was deteriorating in her last sort of few months. But it was just incredible how it helped her, and then it thereafter helped my father-in-law, because he was really skeptical to take mum down, um, naturally because of how she was in herself. But my father-in-law had about 15, 16 years of, really bad back pain, because he'd had a major operation which had resulted in him, he had the back pain as a result of the operation. He was walking with a limp, and he had to take early retirement and things as well because of it, just because he was struggling. And he was actually told a year after his operation that there's further degeneration happening down your spine, and you're probably going to need steroid injections and a wheelchair at some point. So he was kind of living with that, as that was his outlook on life, what's the point type thing. And because he'd seen how mum had improved after her first sort of few sessions, dad had 5 sessions down in London, and after those sessions his back pain had improved like a lot. It was practically like not there. He was able to just walk more, and that was massive again to us because it sort of changed his perspective, and like he has a better outlook on life now in terms of he's looking at ways to just be as well as he can be, whereas before it was more like, what's the point? There's nothing else. I'm just deteriorating anyway. But now he's doing like 6 to 8 kilometers of walking a day, which, before it was like 30 minutes would be quite a struggle. So those two
Wow.
parts is just like, where we have a lot of belief and see the value in this machine. And also when we were taking my husband's parents down to London, we met so many of the people that were benefiting from the machine, whether it was like skin conditions or mouth ulcers or sleep issues, whatever it was, there was people using this machine. And we just thought that, it's incredible that we're able to come down to London and use the machine and we have access to this. But imagine how many people we could help with this machine up where we are in the north, in Lincoln, where things like this aren't always so accessible. So yeah, then we decided to invest in the machine 2 years ago, and we've set up WellGen in Lincoln, and yeah, just been helping people for the last couple of years with various ailments and just improving, where they're at. And I mean, even people come just for general well-being because it's great to, prevention is better than a cure. So if you can optimize yourself, then that's also an area. But it's yeah, it's not something we'd planned for, but it came at a difficult time, and it did really change things around for us. And it also started our like more serious kind of journey into our own well-being as well. So it's it's a bittersweet kind of journey because so, as I say, we bought it so my mother-in-law could use it as well. She's not here, but now it's like this is our journey now to give the benefits of the machine to whoever is around us in the north.
Yeah, I mean, it is very bittersweet. Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? And it's huge thanks to your mum, really. If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be in this position now. But I am quite curious as to know what happened. I understand that talking about your mum is very sensitive, and I don't want to cause any kind of difficulties around, but I don't understand how the her cancer unfortunately could have grown. Surely, in my mind, and with the science that you've explained to me, surely this should be reducing cancer, not allowing it to grow further. Surely that it should put a threshold onto the cancer, maybe not reduce it, but at least keep it stable so it's not growing any further. Am I right in saying that, or have I got that wrong? Do you know what I
So
mean?
how the machine works is, as I say, just optimizing your body and your cells and how they function. And there's a lot of kind of research and stuff that suggests that things like cancer and other diseases they come about because there's some metabolic defect essentially, so our cells aren't working as well as they should be, or there's research which also suggests that cancers thrive in an environment where they don't need oxygen, they don't need oxygen to survive essentially. So to say this directly would reduce cancer is not something that we can definitively say. However, the way in which the machine works, it charges up your cells, so your cells are naturally going to be stronger to and boost your immunity to fight things off. You're producing more energy, so metabolically you're at a better place. There's negative ions which are produced through the machine, and they're oxygen carriers as well. So you're naturally getting an improvement in the oxygen levels in your body as well. So I suppose it creates a better environment to potentially not, allow for cancers to grow, to thrive. However, it also does, depend on kind of what people are doing outside of their sessions, because we know that eating well is very important. There's certain foods that can help improve symptoms and how cancers react in the body. There's actually a couple of cancer hospitals that have the machine in their facilities as well. So there's a place called Hope for Cancer in Mexico, which have adopted the human regenerator, and they help. They have other therapies that are non-toxic, and they look at kind of holistic health to improve the immune system and boost the immune system to allow your body to kind of fight off the cancer. Is their approach. So there's I suppose from that perspective, it's again just empowering your body to be in a better place to kind of do what it needs to do.
So would you recommend this for cancer patients?
100%. It's totally safe. I mean, we have clients at the moment that are seeing us during their treatment. We're seeing clients who are waiting for treatment, so it's totally safe to use alongside any therapy like that, because it's a natural process how the machine works. It's the same as grounding or earthing. So when you go outside and put your bare feet on the grass or the soil, the elements that you're attracting to your body and absorbing are exactly what you get from this machine, but you get that in a much more kind of targeted and amplified way, because there's this energy field that is created around you. So it's totally, yeah, it's fine for people who are going through difficult situations like that to use. But of course, if anyone has concerns, we'd always suggest like speak to your medical professional who would be able to advise whether to use it or not. But we are seeing people with cancer and other issues as well.
You had cancer patients coming through that were already taking chemotherapy and other very mainstream medications. Would that interfere? Would the machine interfere with that in any way? Is that contraindication?
So no, again, it's okay to use alongside it. I suppose some of the kind of like radiation and chemo, they all kind of create a lot of inflammation within the body. It creates a lot of instability and imbalance in the body. So actually combining this therapy with your chemo or radio can maybe allow you to have a better journey, because the machine helps to reduce inflammation, because it's the electrons that it produces, they act as your body's antioxidants, so they're naturally reducing any inflammation that you have as a result of any chemo and radiotherapy or any other kind of treatment. I mean, just going back to my mother-in-law, she did have palliative care thereafter, so she had further radiotherapy, and she had immunotherapy as well. And the consultants were kind of expecting her symptoms to be as bad as they were when she had the original cancer, and need quite strong pain relief, etc. But she was actually okay in terms of pain, especially. She didn't really take anything much stronger than paracetamol until her last kind of 2 or 3 months that she was with us. So that was a surprise, because every time we went for an appointment, they're like, "Are you sure you don't need more? Are you sure you don't need more?" But we do believe that that the human regenerator did help with her pain levels for sure, because every time she went on the machine, she'd be much calmer, she'd be able to sleep, she'd feel practically no pain. And it's because of the inflammation reduction aspect of how the machine helped there.
Oh, brilliant. So do you have any beautiful testimonials and stories from people that have been using the human regeneration machine so far?
Yeah, we do. We've had quite a few like testimonials that have been. I think that's the best bit, when you see people come in with a different kind of perspective or struggling, but then they actually walk away feeling, really good. So one a recent actual testimonial, I suppose, is we had a client who she wasn't supposed to come to see us because she'd broken her wrist. She was coming because she had sciatic pain. But unfortunately, before she started her sessions, she'd had like a major cut and broken her wrist, and she needed like a big operation with rods and all sorts. So when she came to us, she had like a really big her hand was really swollen from her surgery. And she was told kind of because the operation was such a major one, because her injury was such a big one, she was told that she wouldn't get certain movements back in her arm, in her hand and her wrist. And she had sessions with us, so she was having a couple of sessions a week to begin with, or maybe it was once a week, I can't remember now. But you could see the inflammation in her hand reducing quite well over the sessions, but then also when she was having her physio appointments, there was improvements that they noticed which they didn't expect. So they said that, you wouldn't get certain movements back in your wrist because it was so bad. But then when she went, I think it was for a second appointment, the physio said, "Oh, you've got like 27 degrees on this movement, which we didn't predict." So that was positive. And then the recovery was going to be a year or so, is what they'd suggested. And after her third or fourth physio appointment, she was basically discharged because she was able to do a lot more than they'd predicted. So from that perspective, it was really incredible to see that, she was able to move on so quickly and have her recovery be sped up by that much. And yeah, just it's just a really nice kind of to see that journey, really. I don't know, I suppose.
That's mind blowing. It really is mind blowing.
And yeah, another one I can think of is we had a client who came to see us last year, and he was just he just had a low energy. So, he'd find himself feeling quite tired and fatigued often, and he had his job was such that he was driving around a lot. But then when he'd get home, he'd have kind of he was doing some further reading and studying or whatever, and he would find he'd just fall asleep almost because he was just so tired from his day job. And so for him, it was more like, I want to just get my energy levels back up so I can do more with my time. And he came to see us over 5 weeks, but had his sessions quite intensely. And he was noticing his energy was just going up and up and up every time he used the machine. But he left us a testimonial, and we didn't actually know of course, what he was going to say, apart from the fact that we knew that his energy levels were up. But he described the way he felt was that his energy levels were where they were 20 years ago, which was amazing. And then he also told us that, he started running, which is something he hasn't done in years. So I think that part is incredible, because I suppose the machine can allow you to sort of have a quality of life that maybe you wouldn't think you would be able to have otherwise, just because it's quite easy to put constraints on yourself, or if you've tried everything else and it doesn't really help. But this just helps from within, just to empower yourselves and to work as best as they should be. So yeah.
That's lovely. It really is lovely. I've just got so many different people coming into my mind. Oh, it'd be good for them, and oh, it'd be good for them, and it's just good, going to be good for everybody. How do you see this advancing in the future? Because you're the second one in the country, right?
Yes, that's right.
And the first one up north. Can you see this sort of expanding outwards? How is the company itself that actually makes the beds? How are they expanding? Are they worldwide at the moment?
Yeah, so the machine's manufactured by a German company, and this version of the machine's been around since 2021, so we are like quite early adopters of it. But there's actually a number of clinics, not just in the UK but around the world, that have the machine. So with, as I say, the second clinic in the UK that opened up 2 years ago. But since we've opened, there's been another three more clinics that have adopted this into their mainly just longevity centres. There's another clinic that's set up similar to us, just as a machine standalone, to provide as a service. But there's so many around, in Dubai. America's an area that they're expanding into from there this year. Australia, there's parts of Europe that have adopted it, in Austria, in Greece, Spain. There's so many longevity clinics that have them. So there's a clinic called Shah Wellness, which is like one of the leading sort of longevity centers where, they have doctors that are specifically looking at how to give people the best kind of quality of life, longer, like, live as long as they can. And this centre's adopted the human regenerator into their facility as well. So I suppose in terms of what the goals of the manufacturers of the machine are, it's such an early stage that it's just getting it out to as many people as possible, I suppose, is what they're probably wanting to do. Because if you think of other therapies that are out there that use different technologies, like maybe like red light therapy or cryotherapy and things like that, they have taken years and years and years to be kind of known and normalized now. And but they've had this journey probably themselves. So we're on that journey. Anyone who has the machine for in their clinic, or even people who have them in their homes for personal use, like we're all kind of early adopters of it. But we see the projection being that it will get to that point because it's helping with so many things and people are seeing some amazing kind of results. So yeah, the future's bright, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I have a lot of faith in this. I have ever since I heard about med beds, probably 10 or 15 years ago. The whispers have all been there. They're coming. The med beds they're coming is gonna, it's gonna be able to do this, and they're gonna be able to heal the whole body, which is great. But then there's a whole other side to this as well, which is of course the Rockefeller medical industry, who work completely the opposite, where they say that they're providing good medicines that heal people, and lots of people are taking pills and various medications now, but actually it's not doing them any good. Working with against any kind of pharmaceutical or GP surgery, or the medical industry as a whole has proven time and time again that it's a very, very can be dangerous and controversial argument and fight. So even though I have faith in what you're doing and the machine, but it's got to come to a head at some point though now, because they're going to get wind that these machines are curing everybody without costing a penny or very, very little. And then these guys are going to say, "Oh, hold on a second, you're eating into our profit margins." What can you see in the future? Is it happening? Do you see that there's going to be a little bit of pushback from them? Have you already had pushback from them?
I think just in kind of the medical the medical profession and stuff, like they have, there is definitely like a place for them, and they're very helpful in where they do help and things. I think from my perspective, I suppose I feel that maybe the shift of kind of control over our health and things is gone more to, the doctor, and we should be kind of empowered to be able to know what's good for us as well. And that only comes through learning about what's out there, learning what is good for your body. And there's so much information now with, social media, the internet, even just speaking with people or connecting with people like yourselves, where you've always got that opportunity to kind of learn and question what is actually right. And I think, it is quite normal nowadays for people to turn straight away to a doctor or a medical professional to say, this isn't right with me, what should I do? And, their kind of protocol is probably to prescribe something, to have an operation, or, they have a criteria. But I feel like there is kind of a shift coming. It's maybe just a very long journey, because there's a lot of kind of conventional doctors that we've seen online who are sort of adopting a more sort of holistic approach to health, and more functional health, which is where we should be heading towards, I think, because there isn't one thing that fixes everything in the body. Even the machine isn't the only thing that will help to improve any symptoms or improve your overall well-being. There's a whole host of things. Your diet is such a big and important part of what you feed your body, whether it's what you eat, whether it's what you consume, sort of mentally, that has an even greater impact, I would say, probably than anything else. So, I do see that the kind of medical world is getting to more of a functional place where they're considering will be considering other elements. But I suppose, yeah, there's in the kind of crossover between the two, there's always going to be some kind of pushbacks, and we have had that kind of thing, but it doesn't mean that there's not opportunity to kind of change perspective over time, because being in the medical profession, there is the need for larger kind of case studies, etc., and that's kind of how they build the credibility of things. And I think that now, for example, like cryotherapy is something that you can kind of look into or is recommended through the medical profession, but it's, as I say, taken so much time to get there. And I suppose with what we're doing, it's like we're building upon the testimonials. We have a lot of anecdotal evidence, but there are independent studies which do show, there is proof in the science of the machine. So it's just the journey to get there is going to take time. But I do hope that it can get into the medical arena, just because it can help so many people. But just something to kind of make you aware that this isn't actually a medical device, it's a wellness device. So you know, it's there to empower the body, and, it's not there to resolve anything. It's just letting your body kind of do what it knows how to do and promoting that kind of good health, essentially.
Yes, absolutely on point. Absolutely on point. And that really separates you from them then, doesn't it, as well? So great. The studies that you mentioned that have been done already, where can we find those?
So the studies we have, like the kind of diagrams and bits of like what the independent studies have been. I don't think it's accessible just online if you kind of Googled it. But the main ones that we have is a reduction in oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is essentially when you don't have enough antioxidants in your body, it creates harmful molecules called free radicals, which go around and damage your sort of healthy cells, and it creates this oxidative stress, which is internal inflammation, and that's what leads to just faster aging and disease and illness. So there's been an independent study which shows that oxidative stress reduces as a result of having sessions on the human regenerator, which is also why it's kind of classed as like an anti-aging device as well, because it slows down that process of stress building up in the body. The second study that we have is an increase in like the energy production within your cells. So we have energy producing molecules within our cells called the mitochondria, and they produce something called ATP, which is the energy currency of our body. And if we don't produce any ATP, we basically would die. So the study shows that there's an increase of this ATP production within your cells as a result of using of having sessions on the machine. And the reason is because you're getting an influx of electrons into your body, and the electrons are actually important to the production of ATP. So they form part of something called the electron transport chain, which then at the end converts or produces the ATP. So if you've got more electrons in your cells and in your body, then naturally you're going to produce more energy. And the other study that we have is so we have our autonomic nervous system. So that's where our body kind of moves between like the fight or flight mode and the rest and digest part. So, one part of our body kind of allows you to get up and go, and the other part allows you to kind of calm, sleep, rest. But we're moving between the two parts of the nervous system, but actually we want to be balanced as well. So the machine helps to improve like the parasympathetic activity, which is your rest and digest part of your nervous system. So we have a study which shows that there's an improvement after sessions on the human regenerator. There's an improvement in the parasympathetic activity, an improvement in the heart rate as well, and an improvement in the sympathetic activity, which is your fight or flight.
Okay. Thank you for that. Um, Beautiful explanation. You do explain, the human generation machine so well, so inside out that you're an absolute credit to it, to be honest with you. You've clearly done your homework and the passion is just oozing out of my screen at the moment. And I can just see that you are so, yeah, passionate about wanting to help people. Is that a journey that's changed for you over time, about helping people when you took on the MedBed? Was there a change there?
Yeah, so again, my background isn't in the wellness space at all. My background's actually in finance, so I'm a chartered accountant by trade. And as I say, because of the journey that we went on, that dynamic sort of changed in terms of, we had this machine and we wanted to kind of help people with it. But I think growing up, I've always sort of felt like I've always wanted to help people. I mean, when I was younger, I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. My uncle, he had a major bypass operation, and I was his like nurse. I used to make sure he had all his medication, take his breakfast up to him because he had to have bed rest for a certain amount of weeks. And I think I'd like to think that in my family, I'm always out looking to help people as well. But I've always sort of felt over time, especially like after Christian and I got married, like I've always said to him that, I want to do something different. I want to do something where I'm helping people, but I don't know what because I didn't know what it was going to be. And also when my mother-in-law was poorly, she lived with us so I could care for her, and we did as much as we can there, but it wasn't something that felt like a burden or anything. It was a privilege more than anything to be able to do that because you're able to kind of help someone that isn't able to help themselves as well. So I think I've always had that in me, and my parents have always said like being able to help someone is the biggest kind of thing you can do. So I suppose it has been instilled in me like from a very young age. But then yeah, career wise, it's not something that I was looking for. But since I've been on this journey, and I did leave my career a year ago actually to take on WellGen sort of full time and raise the awareness more so, and it's been like the best year ever because well, I haven't missed being where I was before, but also I think it's just been so fulfilling just to see people go to a different place and to where they thought they could be. And, I think it's just really heartwarming to be on that journey, especially when it's people who are just really, really struggling.
Yeah, and I could just see your vibration just raising and raising, like as you were talking about it there, and just see your face lifting and your smile. You're obviously so in love with what you're doing and in love with life. And yeah, you're absolutely right that helping people is a privilege and it is the best thing that we can do. I think that's why so many people back in the day wanted to be nurses and doctors because it's all about helping people on their journey, helping guide people. Yeah, and that's what matters really. So we touched on earlier and before, we touched on the fact that the machine actually produces ionized gas, um, and that it works on like a cooling machine because it would be really, really hot. And that it's like the Northern Lights as well. So can you just go a little bit deeper into that and explain that with a bit more clarity?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, people might be thinking, I mean, what does that really have to do with me and my body, and why does that work? So I suppose if we kind of take a step back and talk about, how our bodies are and why they can get to a point where they need that bit of a push. So, our body is made up of loads and loads of cells. So, but the cells are made up of molecules, and the molecules are made up of atoms. So, it's not just what we see visually. There's like so much more to us than what meets the eye. But essentially over time, as I've mentioned, our bodies slow down, and that's just kind of a natural process of aging. But what that aging process actually is instability in the body. So these molecules in our cells that are normally would be balanced, they become unstable. So essentially what that means is they lose an electron because they always have paired electrons. And when they become unstable, our body always wants to be in balance, in harmony. They'll try and find another electron from somewhere else. And this is what causes something called oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is just what builds up over time when you have these harmful molecules in the body, and it accelerates the aging process. It can lead to disease and illness as well. And when we don't have enough antioxidants in the body, to kind of donate an electron to these harmful molecules, the inflammation inside your body just essentially rises and leads to disease and illness and faster aging. So when you have this instability, it can kind of trigger a lot of things. It could be a lot of stress in the body, like your nervous system becomes less regulated, so you're feeling more stressed all the time, and then it can lead to symptoms like fatigue, low energy, not being able to sleep as well. So plasma, the cold atmospheric plasma that we talk about, produces different elements which essentially help your molecules and your cells balance out and be optimized. So there's four elements that it produces. So it produces electrons, it produces negative ions, it produces static energy, and it produces a light amount of ozone. So all of these elements have a benefit to our cells and our body. So the electrons are their kind of main function is, well, they have a few actually. So one of the areas that it helps is to reduce this oxidative stress that I mentioned. So if you have an influx of electrons, you have a lot of electrons to donate to the unstable molecules that are in your body. So that's what neutralizes the free radicals but reduces oxidative stress. So that's what slows down the aging process. That's what helps to prevent or reduce the effects of any disease and illness. The electrons also act as are important for the energy production within your cells as well. So within your mitochondria, you have the production of ATP, which is your source of energy. So again, if you have an influx of electrons, you're going to be producing more energy, and that's where people feel like a natural improvement in their energy levels, and they maybe feel more alert or more awake, or less fatigued. The negative ions, they have a number of benefits as well. So negative ions you can find in surroundings outdoors, like in around nature, or around waterfalls and things like that. But they're molecules that firstly carry an oxygen molecule. So that's why things like circulation can improve as a result, because you're getting this influx of negative ions. But there's a lot of research as well that shows that negative ions actually help to calm or regulate your hormones, like your happy hormones, like your serotonin, dopamine, and reduce your stress hormone like cortisol. So we find that people who, especially people with like anxiety, or maybe feeling like they have a lower mood and things, they feel maybe happier, less stressed, more calm, have more mental clarity, and it's because of these negative ions. So the negative ions actually also help to promote the rest and digest part of our nervous system as well. So you're getting that better balance of your nervous system. So again, you're just more regulated to just function essentially. And then the static energy, they actually charge up your cells. So our cells operate in millivolts. So we have a healthy cell, which is anything between 80 to 100 millivolts, which is like 80 to 100%. But when you get to kind of the 50 millivolt or less, your cell becomes, less effective or practically kind of dormant. But what the static energy does is it charges up your cells to that healthier level. So your cells are essentially stronger in doing, what they need to do. And then finally, the ozone is not something that's purposefully produced through the machine in the cold plasma. It's just a byproduct of the plasma, but and it's a safe and light amount that it produces as well. But that ozone has antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal properties as well. So with all the elements that it's producing, you get this kind of full body charge effect. So we find, people will come in with a particular symptom that they want to get over, but because it's regulated so many parts of your cells and your body and your nervous system, they might walk away with less pain, which is why they came for, but they might be sleeping better or feeling more energetic or, have more kind of mental clarity. So that's why it's also called a full body charger.
That's brilliant. There's a couple of things I just want to ask you about.
Mhm.
So you mentioned the volts of the cells. Was that just an average standing charge that your cells are at for the average person? Can you, yeah.
So, so a lot of us can be at around like the 50 millivolt mark, and that's usually because, our again our diet, lifestyle, just stress and the external environment that all can have an impact on how effective your cells are. I suppose it's like when you think about it, it's like, one thing doesn't directly affect something in the body. It's like a combination. So, if you have internal inflammation, if you have higher oxidative stress, it's like that could then be impacting how well your cells are working, and then dampen down like the voltage of your cells, and then your cells are not then able to produce as much energy because they're weaker. So it's like there's like a kind of domino effect essentially in the body. And I think that's also why, especially people who have like chronic conditions that they just can't get over, it's because there's so much going on in the body. And, if you think about if you've got a million things to do, like where do you start? Like that, our cells have so many things to do, even without us realizing, like our heart is pumping when we're fast asleep, our brain is working when we're fast asleep. So it's like, that's why people who have those kind of conditions that are difficult to get over, they need just that bit of a push to then, give the cells the time and energy to figure out actually this is what's right. And actually sometimes, like, we do have clients that take a lot longer in terms of seeing an improvement in how they feel, but we find that it's because they're probably nervous system isn't as regulated as it should be. So the plasma is probably working on that first, or maybe the cells aren't at the voltage that it needs to be. So it's working on that. Like, we can never sort of say that this is definitely going to be your journey, because like eating food, we don't we don't eat some blueberries and say, oh, my knee's inflamed, can you just send some antioxidants down there? Likewise, when people are on the machine, we don't tell the body, can you send the plasma here, there, or everywhere? It will know what to do with it and what it needs attention first.
What's the ozone? You mentioned the ozone before. What do you mean by that?
So ozone is basically it's three molecules of oxygen that are combined together. So in the process of when the machine is taking the atmospheric air, you have oxygen and whatever else, like other molecules in the atmosphere. So in the process of separating out the different molecules to get to the electrons, negative ions, etc., the separate oxygen molecules that are produced will naturally form to produce this ozone. So it's like O3, not O2. And that's essentially what is produced. So sometimes people can smell like a sort of metallic smell in the air when they've had their session, but that's the smell of the ozone. But that again, so there's therapies that people have, like ozone therapy is something that's quite common, and it's administered in different kind of ways. But this is, again, it's just created as like a soft a particle in the atmosphere type thing. So yeah, that's just known to have antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial properties. So there's been a few cases in other clinics where they've seen kind of wound healing over a number of sessions because of that aspect of it, along with all the other benefits of the therapy as well.
Great stuff. And would you feel after you've had a session, knowing all of this, after you've had a session, would you gradually feel a decline going back to the way you were feeling before, and then you feel like I need another boost, so you'd go for another session? Or would you kind of, I mean, I know you spoke about diet before, and obviously it is massively dependent on what we consume, diet wise, liquid wise, hydration wise as well, and exercise. But if we remained or tried to remain as consistent with things, would you just see like a steady rise in the quality of our health? Or would it depend on people whether they will go down and they feel like they might have to have another session and then another session? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
would you come to a point where you feel like I need to go for another session?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of our clients, especially those who have had a set of sessions where they come in more intensely because they want to overcome a symptom or something, they go on to a bit of a maintenance afterwards, just because they felt other benefits in how they're feeling, which they didn't realize. I mean, some people might not even feel like they need more energy, but then they feel more energy, so they're like, oh, actually, maybe this is something that I didn't realize that you don't your normal becomes how you feel on a day to day. So yeah, because of our modern lifestyle, there's always, no matter how much you try and do for yourself, how much mindfulness you do, how well you eat and take all the supplements and exercise really well, our modern lifestyle is such that, we're indoors a lot of the time. We're not out in nature as our bodies are supposed to be. We do have a lot of stress, even though we try and manage it, like we're constantly in front of screens, and all of those things have a detrimental impact over time, when you're consuming it regularly. And so they're the things that cause this stress in the body. So, it might be, I mean, we've had cases where people are at a very good place and they don't feel the need to come back and have sessions with us, which is amazing because, we want people to feel like they can kind of carry on or be happy with where they're at. But I suppose when it comes to thinking about being your optimal, like you wouldn't kind of take or eat a healthy diet for a certain amount of time and then stop and expect the results to last for forever thereafter. At some point, you're going to start feeling a bit maybe lethargic, or you're not, maybe not thinking as well as you were before. So, like that, we do see this as something that people kind of just adopt and do every now and then, if they're happy with where they're at. But again, it's not something that, if you don't do, then you're going to miss out. You're going to completely go back to where you were, because the way it works is building on each session that you come for. So, you're building on that cumulative charge in your body, you're building on that, reducing that kind of inflammation that's just left after an injury or something. So it's just that balance, I suppose, of what works for people and how often they can come back. And the machine, your body will never overdose on the therapy. Essentially, it will, because it's a natural process. It knows what to do with all the elements. It knows how to deal with the electrons, the negative ions, the static energy. It knows what to do with it, because essentially the elements that you get from the machine is what you'd get if you go outside and ground and put your feet on the grass. So it's all natural and familiar to your body.
Yeah, the body is just a very well-oiled machine. It's just,
Yeah.
whoever created us, however we were made, as doesn't matter what anybody's opinion on where we were created or evolved, whatever. It's the systems that are within us are absolutely perfect, and they know, our bodies know exactly how to heal itself should it be given the right conditions to do so. Obviously, there's a lot of people that don't quite understand that concept because we've been so brainwashed and manipulated over the last 200 years. And people, like we said, talking about before, have been so dependent and reliant on the medical systems, they've forgotten actually how to take responsibility for themselves and actually learn about how the body systems work, but then also the energetic systems as well, which is the basis of this of the machine. Um, because the ether and energy has been taken out of every single science book and medical book and doctor's book. Even the doctors don't teach anything about using or working with energy, certainly not ozone or ionized gas, anything like that, which has to have been used at some point in our human history. I mean, I'm a big believer in that things repeat and things get recycled all the time, and technologies become recycled all the time, or they come from somewhere up there, and the ideas are given to us and filtered through to us, because that's certainly how Nikola Tesla managed to design his machines, or so he wrote in his journals. But I'd love to know what your philosophy is on humankind and seeing how we've come through history. And now that we have these amazing technologies, which are so easily accessible, easily usable, what do you think the future is? And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but can you just see us living longer, stronger for longer? Do you see this as a major player with the huge possible changes within our societies, civilizations? Do you have any opinions on that at all?
I do think there's a lot more people now because of information and social media that are becoming aware of technologies like this that, help to give you a longer and healthier life. I mean, this is kind of a biohacking tool in a way. So the Health Optimization Summit, which is a biohacking kind of longevity exhibition that happens every year down in London. It happened in Austin. They had one in Austin as well, in Texas earlier in the year. Those kind of events is where all the kind of world's leading biohackers like Tim Gray, Gary Brecker, um, uh, so many names that I can't think of right now, but they all kind of attend, and the public can go and see and try all these therapies and learn about them. And there's people that are solely kind of working on what are the elements that are gonna help me live longer or thrive, and it is all down to that cellular mitochondrial level that when your mitochondria dysfunction, that's when you age and deteriorate, etc. So there's so many things now, and I know of people, not invested, they're like normal day-to-day people that know about like all the supplements, all the magnesiums and everything like that that's going to help you get yourself regulated to sleep better. So I do see that longevity of people's lives is going to increase, and I mean, there's so many programs that you can see that documentaries of what are people doing to live to 100 and things like that, and a lot of it is quite simple, as we say, like diet is important. We are exposed to ultra processed foods, like when you go into a supermarket, it's like 70-80% of the shelves are things that are not even food. And there's an element, there's the rest is just kind of your fresh and whole foods. And I think more people are learning about what's going into making all these processed foods. Actually, how is it impacting our body? And I think with that knowledge, and then also the importance of sleep, like sleep is so important for our bodies to recover, because if you don't sleep enough, then it can create a whole host of problems. And then again, exercise, people are now kind of understanding more about mindfulness and meditation, and I mean, like things like yoga and stuff like that, which is kind of historically like been around for years and years and years, but now it's become more of like a mainstream. which is really nice because again, that kind of brings the power back to ourselves and, knowing what is good for our body. But I do feel as a result of people being more conscious of what they're doing and what they're consuming and how active they are, and then having things like these technologies, because as I say, our modern world is such that, there's so much pollution out there, there's so much stress in the world, there's so much we're exposed to screens all the time. They're all things that we can't really avoid as much as we'd like to. It's really difficult to, and that's, I suppose, just the way things are. But because people are using these tools as well and adopting it into their, positive lifestyles, I do see that people are going to be living longer and healthier and, just thriving really. And it's nice because I feel, people, I don't know, get to the age of 40 or something and they say, oh, I'm getting old now and my body's starting to ache, and it's like you shouldn't feel or accept that that's what your life should be like. People should be, feeling so much more active. And actually, I know people who are much, much older and they're doing incredibly well. But when I ask them, what's your secret? It's like movement, eating good food, or cooking things, or, staying happy, being around community and all those things. And even the top biohackers talk about all these elements, not just the technologies and the supplements. Like there's so much to us that we should do and we need to build us, because our cells hear everything that's going on. They don't have their own ears, but any emotion you feel that has an impact on your cells, any kind of thing that you're exposed to on the outside will have an impact on you internally. So it's just creating the best environment to thrive, really.
Yeah, 100%. Totally and utterly agree with you. And I can't wait to get down to these events in London, these biohacking events. I started doing Cambo just after I'd come through. I had one last round of chemo in January 2020. And I don't know if you've heard of Cambo, have you?
I have heard of it, and there is actually someone locally, and it's just reminded me I need to reach back out to them because they're not far, and I've not heard of it before until I heard of it being locally. So yeah, enlighten me.
Yeah, I went on this whole biohacking research thing for a few years, which really got me into this health and wellness industry actually. And it I remember one of your clients that you spoke about earlier said that he felt like after he'd had a session on your bed machine, that he felt like he did when like 20 years ago. And that's how Cambo makes you feel as well. So I'm very curious to know is how these two are going to intertwine. Because I think you're just going to have pore like light shining out of all of your pores after you've had both of those. But Cambo is, I would just recommend it to everybody. Not everybody can have it because it does put pressure on the heart because um it promotes newly oxygenated blood rushing around the body, so it's cleaning out all the cells and all the toxins from. It's really, really deep cellular detox. It's absolutely amazing. The Cambo itself is full of peptides, so it works on the whole system and it cleans out your organs, so like your liver, your kidneys, your spleen, your gallbladder, your bile duct as well. It just cleans everything out. It does make you purge because that's all the toxins um coming out of your body, and it makes you sweat profusely as well. It's not one of the most comfortable of therapies to endure, but it sort of trains the mind to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and it also trains you to trust that the body knows exactly what it's doing. And like you've been talking about with the machine as well, you just have to trust because it's so natural. Everything is, and it's so intuitive, just like the machine. It's literally sweeps through the whole body, looking for what needs to be repaired, and then it repairs it. And the medicine, even after your purge, even after you feel like you've finished and you feel like the session is over and you're ready to get into your rest and relax element, the medicine is still working throughout the body, and it works on the physical, the spiritual, the energetic. So your whole aura is completely cleaned, as well as on the physical deep cellular detox as well. So I would 100% go for it, do it, because it's a life changer, just like the machine.
Yeah.
It's an absolute life changer. It really does. And I think both of them synergistically are going to work really well together. So when you've been when you've braved it, when you've gone for the combo for the first time, please let me know how you get on, and have a session on the machine afterwards, and let me know how they intertwine, because
Yeah.
that's yeah, that'd be really, really interesting research to do, I think, together. But being on this biohacking journey, I've sort of dipped in and out of it over the years, and also, building my own businesses and things like that as well. But are there any things um, that have kind of piqued your interest on your periphery in the biohacking industry? Is there some other things that you might want to try that you haven't quite got the chance to yet?
Oh yeah, there's so many therapies that I haven't tried for myself, and it's something that I should really do. Like I know that like red lights and your hyperbaric oxygen chambers and all those bits are really popular. Infrared saunas are becoming really popular now. There's just, I suppose, any tech, like the most ideal thing for us to do is actually go to one of the health optimization summits and just experience whatever's there, because then you understand like how it all works and where it benefits and stuff. We've just been very unlucky that every time it's been on, we've had other plans. So I think, yeah, I'd love to try like all the different kind of technologies that are out there and how they work, and understand where they're different to each other and stuff. And actually we had a client who was already doing like red light and cryotherapy and other bits, and he was finding actually that when he was using the human regenerator, the effects of the other therapies were greater. And I think where the sort of where that kind of helps is because you're getting a lot more kind of elements into your body with the human regenerator, and then the other therapies are using all those elements and whatever your body's producing to, and that's what helps to enhance the effectiveness. So it's quite common for people to have better results when combining this with other therapies. I mean, there's a physio in Greece who uses the machine with his physiotherapy, and his results are, such quick like improvements in his clients and things. So it's just nice that it can complement other things as well, just to have a better outcome for everyone. Speak so much about what's like a simple way of looking at it, and I think maybe people might relate more to, I think I might have said in our last call, like the analogy of like how, a plant and in its environment, like they all thrive or die basically, that, and we're very similar. It might be quite cool to mention people like Barbara O'Neill, because I think she's like, especially in like the holistic world, a lot of people know who she is, and she uses our not our human regenerator, but the human regenerator. They were waiting actually for an interview to come out from the clinic in Dubai to talk about it, because she, has a lot of views on how important electrons are, etc. So she's like a quite well-known name and face that is aware of our technology and does, see the benefits of it.
Have you got her on your website?
She's not on our website, but she's on our social media page. So we've done a post about her, like she sat on the machine on there. So that there's a picture of her in the clinic in London. And then there's also a clip on the Dubai Instagram page where they've got like a snippet of her with the machine in the background and saying a few words, sort of thing. So that's quite cool. But I can send you the link to that if you want.
No, I was just thinking, I think you should probably put that on your website, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really big
Well,
deal.
Yeah, so we had on our website like a kind of a strip where we just had a few names that people are familiar with, but it we took it off because it just didn't look right where it was. So we need to figure out where. So in our blogs and stuff, we've mentioned like the names that we are, we know that means something to people type thing. Because as I say, I think there's also a cardiologist that I might have mentioned last time, like he's quite big in the well, he's done a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, which is really cool, but then he's been using the human regenerator for like the last 9, 10 months. He's a cardiologist from the UK, but he has a lot of knowledge about metabolic health and I suppose he might be someone that you'd see like going from like the conventional approach to more holistic approach. But yeah, he's part of the Make America Healthy Again campaign. He's like the lead, well, he's the chief medical advisor, but we got to meet him was it in September? Yeah, I think it was in September, and he was just saying that there's a lot of kind of exciting things like with the machine because he's seen, you know, what his experience has been. And actually his experience was similar to mine in terms of not feeling as, getting colds and flus and stuff as much, which is interesting because I always wonder whether that's like a valid view of like how it's helping, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so there are quite a few people that have used the machine, even so Tim Gray, who I mentioned, who's the biohacker, leading biohacker in the UK, this is like he uses it regularly in London, but this is his like top pick, like biohacking tool pick, and he runs the Health Optimization Summit. So this was his like pick of 2023, which is really cool. Um, and yeah, trying to think who else, but there's loads of people there's you know, in James Bond, I'll have to find her name. She's one of the, sorry, I need to tell you her name because you might recognize her. Um, Naomi Harris. She's one of the Bond girls.
All right.
So she uses the human regenerator. Sunita, she uses the human regenerator down in London. Yeah, there's a lot of people like famous faces down in London that come through, but it's just quite cool that it's getting that kind of recognition now in people who are well known. So yeah.
Brilliant. I want one. I want one of those machines. And a machine like this would have such a huge impact on the community because just one session and then the word spreads and then the word spreads and all of a sudden you can just see a little by little these changes of people feeling better, and
Mm.
changing their lifestyles because that's what we want, isn't it? That's the kind of impact that we want to make is slowly but surely is just improving the quality of people's lives that have been absolutely impoverished by the powers that be, by people that have so many other central powers, if you like, and other systems and abuse in the family, which is detrimental on mental health. These are all these different elements coming together just creates such an awful society. And I think you have got such potential now to really help spread those ripples, if you like, throughout the whole of the north. Obviously, London's doing the south, and you're in the Midlands and the north. And I think you've got such potential to really benefit, yeah, the whole society in a really, really big way. And I think if we can help promote the machine as well as for people coming to you for treatments, but certainly try and encourage more companies to invest in these machines so that then they can start helping their local communities as well. That would just be absolutely mind-blowing and just promote the light work that we do here. So Thank you so much for
Mm.
being here. It's been an absolute pleasure and a real privilege to speak to you about your journey, your family's journey, and about the machine itself and what it's really doing for people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been lovely speaking to you, and thanks for giving us the platform to talk about all things human regenerator and how we got here. So really appreciate it.